In our village here in France, there's a colony of wild cats who live in the park behind our house. A lady comes to feed them every day, but not all of them survive because there is a pecking order. Adult cats can feed first, and it is only when the higher-ranking cats have sated themselves that the lower-ranking cats are allowed to move in. Kittens are at the bottom, and nature can be cruel. The majority of the wild cats are black feral cats, and their kittens are mainly black and have their parents' aggressivity towards interlopers. The black cats are tough survivors. Some of our neighbours have tried to give them a home, but mainly without success. They were born wild and free, and that is the way they want to stay. Recently, my husband was doing some gardening behind our house, and that's how we came to meet this year's crop of kittens. Meet Point Final. I call him Point Final because of the spot immediately next to his nose. Point Final in French means last full stop, or period as the Americans like to say. As in the sentence, we humans are no longer free, period. Point Final is a very confident kitten. As you can see, he is half black and half white. He's cheeky and well able to look after himself. As you can see, here he is eyeing up the food, as are many of the other cats. Here's his brother Tash. Tash is French for smudge, so you can see how he got his name. He's very timid, but the two of them can often be seen gambolling on the grass at the bottom of the hill. They are happy with their lot, although they do enjoy some extra tidbits. Point Final and Tash had been watching my husband closely for several days when a sad little face suddenly appeared. He was very timid, but also very friendly and even affectionate and obviously desperate for food. We called him Oliver, after Oliver Twist in Dickens' novel, the boy who asked for more food in the orphanage. Oliver obviously suffers from food anxiety, and we are amused that when he's meowing for his 3 meals a day, you see we're currently building him up, it sounds exactly like now. Now! Now! Oliver was obviously bullied by the other feral black cats and all the other kittens. Even Tash bullied him, particularly because of competition for food. My husband fed the kittens for several days outside our house, and Oliver was always present. We made sure that he was allowed to eat in peace. You can see from the picture that his bones were sticking out, but it was only because he was so affectionate and friendly that my husband was able to stroke him, and so was able to realise just how thin he actually was. His fur was quite thick, so it covered his somewhat emaciated body. His brothers and sisters must have died, because he was the only sandy-coloured kitten. One day in November, when the sky looked particularly threatening and an icy tramontane storm was obviously brewing, and there was little Oliver, curled up in a ball on his own in an alley. He looked to be in a bad way. We were dubious about taking him in because we have a dog, Scamp, who hates cats with a passion. But we couldn't leave Oliver out there to die, so we looked for Scamp's puppy cage in the garage and deployed it. We were so glad we did, because the temperature dropped and there was a bad storm that night. We don't think Oliver would have survived it. When Scamp was a pup, I made a mosquito net for the cage, and we put that up to help Oliver feel even safer. You have to see it from an animal's perspective. To us it is a cage, but to a happy, well-fed cat, it is a protection against the outside world, particularly a completely new environment that contains a dog. If you wish to introduce a large kitten to an older dog who hates cats, we found that you need to take things slowly. A cage is useful as a starting point because the cat is protected and the dog can see him. You will have to discipline the dog at first by removing him from the room if he stresses the cat until he learns to behave calmly. We felt that Scamp was a good-natured dog who would soon adapt, and he did. We then placed the dog's bed gradually nearer the cage so that the two animals slept near each other. After that, it will be up to them, but bit by bit you will find them feeling easier in each other's company. It was an enormous effort at self-control for Scamp. You can see him standing here on 3 legs in the classic hunting pose, staring in disbelief at the cage. Thankfully, as can be seen, Oliver very quickly decided that Scamp was no threat and started to purr and knead the floor as if he thought that Scamp might be his mother and feed him. Scamp, being a dog, was more interested in checking out Oliver's scent. We are convinced that animals can detect an immature animal of any species and will generally be less aggressive towards them. When we first took him in, Oliver's eyes were dull. He had some kind of nasal problem, and he vomited most of his food for the first 3 or 4 days. He also slept deeply, all day and all night, for most of these early days. We put Scamp's bed near the cage so that the two of them could gradually get to know each other. The cage gave Oliver a feeling of security and allowed the animals to become close. After 4 days quarantine, we were able to let Oliver out of the cage, at first with a harness, and let him explore his new surroundings. Oliver started to look better. He had gained his confidence by then, and so we were able to clean up his face and take him to the vet, who told us he was between 5 and 6 months old. So he was born end of June, beginning of July, one of the last born kittens for 2021. The vet wormed and defleed Oliver and gave him a thorough examination, declaring him to be healthy. As the day draws to a close, we often put on vinyl records and listen to music from a pre-dystopian era. It's a way of escaping from the madness we see unfolding in the world. We have some Himalayan salt rock lamps, which we love because of the deep red glow they give out that helps get our brains in the mood for sleep. Well, it turned out that Oliver loved them too. Some people say that cats respond to orgonite or certain minerals which are supposed to give out beneficial negative ions. I never know whether that's true or not, but I was very interested to see how much Oliver was attracted to the lamp. He's a real sun worshipper too, and we get lots of sun in this part of France. He and Scamp both love chilling on the mat in the sun. Oliver loves to play. He particularly enjoys playing with Scamp's toys. But Scamp isn't so keen. This is Oliver's favourite chair. We have to be careful not to sit on him, as he's very well camouflaged on this suede chair. Scamp is never far away, keeping a wary eye on him. We put a small fleece on the chair for Oliver. No prizes for guessing who jumped on the chair immediately. That is the first time Scamp has ever sat on that particular chair, and obviously he wants to claim territory from his new rival. We moved Oliver's cage into one of the bedrooms. He still sleeps there at night. So we bought him a comfortable bed for his cage. Guess who immediately jumped in? Anybody with more than one animal knows that they are very status aware. They constantly vie with each other for higher status. In the current world tyranny which we are living through, we can glean some hope from that. The idea of the elite of the world cooperating long term to construct a new world order is unrealistic, because they will all eventually want the top positions for themselves and their cronies. That is our one hope, that the nightmare world they are unrolling will not last. We can learn a lot from the natural instincts of our animals. Oliver loves our spiral staircase. For him, it's a huge climbing frame. Occasionally, when Oliver is particularly active and runs around madly, he triggers Scamp's chase instinct. But Oliver is a bright cat. He heads straight for the spiral staircase, which Scamp has never climbed, and looks down at him from above, saying, "Na na 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 na." Scamp looks at him enviously from below. Oliver has come a long way from those early days, only a few short weeks ago. We've learned a lot about cats too. We never intended to own a cat, but I must say that we're really glad we took Oliver into our home. We think Scamp feels the same.